Hey everyone, this is Chasing Chan the Visuk, and before we get started, I just want to say people know how to pronounce my last name now, which is fantastic. Like, if that is the only thing that comes out of this podcast, aside from Alex listening to my voice when I am a dribbling vegetable, people knowing how to pronounce my last name is probably right there. But here we are, holiday is upon us. Some of us are going to be doing some cooking. Some of us are going to be, a lot of us are going to be doing a lot of eating. I myself, I am a big fan of cooking, but not this year. This year, we are doing the tradition of going to Mary's aunt's house, who loves me very much. Hi, Aunt Cindy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the ham. Anyways, some of you guys are probably going to bring out the Christmas tree. Some of you guys already have the Christmas tree out. Shame on you. But here is the cooking episode, and I'm just going to go ahead and say the first thing I have ever cooked when I was 5 years old, when my parents worked long hours and I was pretty much left to my own devices. I taught myself how to cook instant noodles. Just basically rip it right out of the packet, put it in there, water, sauce, and you're good. Just wait for it to bubble and enjoy. But I didn't really I don't really grasp the concept of safety because these were, open flames and like knives. And my parents were like, "Hey, he's fine, whatever. He's still young. We could probably make another one." But no, after that, I learned how to cook eggs. I learned how to fry eggs on my own. You got a lot of oil burns, probably used too much, and trial and error. And roughly when I got to about 10-ish, and into my early teens, we had like a revolving house. Family members would come and stay with us. My grandmother stayed with us, and they would do all the cooking. And so I didn't really learn much. I come home, food was there for me. I'd wake up, food was there for me. I'm about to go to sleep, food was there for me. There was always food there for me, and so I really didn't didn't get into it as much as I probably should in order to take care of myself. And then I went out to college, and then I got a job, so there was always like a good burrito place or something like that. And I would go to friends' house, and their parents or their relatives would provide the food. And so I didn't really have to learn to cook as much then either. Even though I actually one of my first jobs when I got out to San Diego was I worked at Alberto's. And if you guys live in San Diego, you know that Alberto's is pretty much the 7-Eleven of the West Coast, in that it is everywhere. It is on every corner, and they would always make burritos and tacos fresh for you. Like there would be no pre-prep or anything like that. But it was always quick, it was always good, and it was always cheap. So again, I really didn't have to learn how to cook for myself because San Diego, West Coast, there was always food. I mean, avocados would just fall on the road, and cars would run over them. That's how plentiful San Diego was, at least at the time I was there. I don't know how it is now with the wildfires and everything. I haven't had a chance to go back out there since I came back, and so no, I didn't really learn how to do much cooking for myself then. It wasn't until I came back to Rochester and I got into hibachi cooking. Out of nowhere, nobody taught me. I started out as a server at Arigato, and one day they asked, "Hey, you want to learn how to cook?" Yeah, sure, why not? And so it was about a 2-week course, and I'll be honest with you, it's not that hard. Salt, pepper, soy sauce, butter once in a while, a lemon once in a while. And every now and then, somebody would ask for teriyaki sauce, which upsets me greatly. For those of you who don't know me, I claim teriyaki sauce is sauce for people who don't know how to cook because you can have really bad smelling meat, and then you throw teriyaki sauce on there, and you get about another day or two out of it. And so I absolutely hate teriyaki sauce. I will say that on record. But so I did hibachi for a while, and it wasn't bad. It paid pretty decent. I mean, obviously, most of it was under the table. So that's when I started getting a little bit more into it, the intricacies. I got really into knives. Like I would buy like these really really good cooking knives, and I remember Global being one of my favorite knives. They were really expensive. I think my first Global knife was like almost 230 bucks. And granted, again, I was getting paid under the table, so most of it was cash, and so I really didn't grasp how much I was making and not making. Probably not as much as I should be making, but again, I got really into the equipment of it, the spatulas, the fork, and obviously the knife, the Global knife, which I ended up buying a whole set of Global knives, and I think it was a little under $800 for the entire set. One chef knife, two or four steak knives, a couple paring knives, and the sharpener. And I come home one day, and I'm looking at my knife block, and I'm like, what the heck? Where's my chef knife? And I look outside, and my dad is using my chef knife to prune one of the branches on his plants. And it's not like it's a soft plant either. Like it was fibrous wood. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm using your knife to prune the plant. I'm like, you know how expensive that is? And he goes, oh, it's a really good knife. Like it's sharp and it cuts real clean. I'm like, give me back my knife. But so slowly and slowly I started getting into it. And then I had left Arigato for a while. Basically, I was kind of tired of being hit on by the owner, the female owner, not the male owner. He had his own thing going, but so yeah, I left and I started with a catering company, and that's when I started learning classical cooking. Like I started learning French and Italian dishes, and to this day, I still can't make a chicken French for the life of me. But I got really good at sauces. I got really good at just doing things by eye. Like there's no gram of this or like a liter of this or a cup of this. It was just boom by eye, just looking at everything. This is how much should go in there. Taste it. This is how much should go in there. And I got really really into that. And then eventually, the brother of the catering company, whose name escapes me right now, but the owner of the catering company's name was Sam. His brother was the head chef at Capers in downtown Rochester, New York, and he asked if I wanted to learn under him, and so I did. I mean, it was one of the best restaurants, best high-end restaurants in Rochester, New York at the time, and so yeah, I went over there and I learned how to make basic sauces. I learned how to make soups from scratch, and again, I learned just by eye, no measuring whatsoever. In fact, I don't even remember seeing a measuring cup or a tablespoon or something like that at that restaurant. To be honest with you, it was just all pour everything in and then taste it and go from there. How does it look to you? And after a while, I had gotten burnt out from that because catering, while fun, never stops. It was a constant on the road. I would be in like Caledonia one day, and the next day I'd have to get up and drive to New York City because there was a like a bike ride or something like that. And so it was very stressful, especially when I had just gotten together with my girlfriend at the time, and we were trying to spend time with each other, but we just couldn't get our schedules going, and so I left. I left catering, creative caterers. I left them and went back to Arigato because they had bumped up my money and they had made me the head chef. And so, cool. I am now running the show. I am running the kitchen. I want nothing to do with the front, which keeps me away from that boss. And so I'm actually enjoying myself. My then girlfriend at the time was working there as well. She was a waitress. And we were doing good. We were seeing each other. I was running the back. I had wanted nothing to do with the front end. And suddenly, there was a huge shift. A lot of chefs were quitting. I don't know why. I didn't ask. And then the who's his name there? Peter, the boss, just really got on me for no apparent reason, really. Just putting a lot of pressure on me. We need to save money, so we need to cut corners, things like that. And when you're a restaurant and you're cutting corners, when you are in heavy competition, that's not good. And so I tried my best. I bit my lip and I did what I could, but eventually it got to the point where it wasn't even the fault of the restaurant anymore. It was just he was so stressed out that he was self sabotaging the restaurant himself. I don't want to get into it, none of my business, but let's just say a lot of money was going elsewhere and not into the restaurant. And so I decided I'm going to quit. I did do it right. I finished the night. I told him I was leaving. I want my money. And so I got paid that night. I said goodbye to everybody. We went to Fridays like we always do. And we had some drinks, we had some food, and that was cool. Everything was great. And we were done. And I got a call about maybe 2 or 3 days later from one of my coworkers, ex-coworkers, Jay, who had moved on to Tokyo down the street. And he said, "Hey, we need a hibachi chef. Are you interested?" And at the time, I just got paid. So at the time, like, nah, I'm kind of good right now. I don't really need it. And he goes, "Well, can you just come down and do like part time just to help us out on the weekend?" I go, "Ah, yeah, sure, why not?" So I go down there and instantly, grandma back there just hated me for some reason. She asked me who my dad was, and I said, Salam Pun, Chantavisuk. And and she goes, "Oh, you're Salam Pun's son." Like, yeah. And then suddenly her disposition just changed. Like, she was a lot friendlier to me. I don't know why she hated me. Probably thought because I was from, I was from St. Paul Street. Probably thought I was a ghetto ass thug or something like that, which I am not, by the way. I am a very refined, cultured gentleman who just happened to hang out with a bunch of ghetto ass thugs. But no, so she was really really nice for me. And then obviously we had my uncle Lee, who was a huge pervert, just like if you could imagine Jiraiya, but in real life, that would be Uncle Lee. And he was great. Like he would just bust out into songs, just start singing. And another good perk was that we were allowed to drink, which was a bad thing. But yeah, we were drinking beer constantly, and there was smoking in the kitchen. Let's be honest here. So we smoked, we drank. I got my cousin Kevin on board as my dishwasher, who was the dishwasher Arigato at the time. Let me just say this: when you work in the kitchen business, there are no such things as contracts. There are, I need you now, what are you getting paid, and how do I give you more than that so that you can quit right now and come work for me. That's how the cutthroat the kitchen business is. And I've been approached several times by other restaurants to do just that, to just get up and leave. And I wouldn't say I had loyalty, out of more of laziness. I lived maybe a 5 minute drive from Tokyo, and though I was gonna make some more money, I decided, you know what? I'm that lazy that I'm not going to do it. And again, I was the only chef in Tokyo. I had full reign to do whatever I wanted. I was able to drink, I was able to smoke, and I had broken up with my girlfriend at this time, or she had broken up with me, one or the other. We're no longer together. And so I just wanted nothing to do with anybody. And so I stayed at Tokyo. And that's when a lot of the I wouldn't say mental, but a lot of the inner things started happening because of the drinking, because of the smoking, because of the stress of being the only one in the hibachi section to run that entire area. And don't get me wrong, it was like what, 5 tables maybe to do. But when the front hostess just constantly packs parties of 8, parties of 10, parties of 12, and you're the only one cooking, it does get stressful. And so I drank a lot more than I probably should. I smoked a lot more than I probably should. At this point, I was probably doing about 2 packs a day, and I was doing it kind of sneakily. I was kind of ashamed as to how much I was doing, and so I kind of hid away. Sometimes I would smoke in the cooler, which is where we got cooler time from. And so, yeah, I got stressed out really, really badly there to the point that I had to get away. And this is when I bought the Honda Civic, and I went to Delaware to see my grandfather. At the time, I did not know that was going to be the last time I saw him, but that's when I decided I needed to get away for a little bit. And in Tokyo, you can do one of two things. You can take a week off and get paid for it, or you can just take the money and work. So I decided, I need to take that week off. And so he's like, fine, gave me an envelope full of cash, and I drove down to Delaware, where I made my peace with my grandmother and my grandfather. And so I came back up kind of rejuvenated because I got away. I got away for a little bit. And then as soon as I got back, everything happened all over again. And so I just decided that was it. I decided that that was going to be the final Rochester restaurant I worked for. And I had quit. I had been at the top, apparently. If you ask a few of my friends who are from Rochester, a few of my car buddies, Tokyo at the time was the best Japanese restaurant in all of Rochester. That was the place to go. We had we had a really good menu. We had like innovative cooking where we didn't just do the set. We didn't do the menu. We kind of came up with our own little thing as well. And a lot of my friends would go there, not because I was there. They would go there even when I wasn't there. And at one time, I was actually considered the best hibachi chef in Rochester. And that's, again, people were asking if they can, pull me away for more money. And I didn't really care. So I stepped away. I started working at Sears. This is probably my third stint at Sears, probably. And so, yeah, after that, worked at Sears, worked in the electronics department, and oh wait, go back. Stop. Let's take a little step backwards because Shanghai, or I'm sorry, Tokyo, the restaurant I worked at, was connected to a Chinese restaurant called Shanghai, and I kind of moonlighted over there a couple times, and this is gonna sound weird, but every now and then, like maybe once or twice a year, the entire Shanghai kitchen would just fall silent. Like there would be no music, no smoking, and it would just be, I don't know, it would just be kind of weird where it's like they were on edge. And I asked the hostess at Shanghai, who doubled as the hostess once in a while at Tokyo. I was like, "What's going on?" And she'd go, "Oh, we got a chef from New York coming." And I was like, "Huh?" There's a chef coming up from New York City. He's gonna show us some new techniques, and he's gonna show us a new menu item and all this. And so all the other chefs were afraid, like their job was on the cutting block or something. And me, being the wise ass that I was, and not even a member of Shanghai, I go, "All right, cool." And so the chef would show up, and he would get paid up front. He would just get an envelope full of cash up front, and he would just start drinking and smoking and doing a few things. And I'm watching him because I want to learn too, right? And so I'm watching him, and he's talking in Cantonese, which I did kind of dabble in a little bit, so I can kind of get it. And he's showing them, and all the other chefs are just like shaking their head, like, "Oh, and I'm like, isn't that the shit we're already doing? Like, I'm not learning anything new here at all from this guy. Like, what are they drinking?" And so this guy would just be there for a few days, get paid, and do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing new. No new recipes, no new techniques or anything like that. And yet, these other guys bought in. Like, they bought into the Kool-Aid. And I'm just sitting there like, this guy sucks. Like, why are we paying him when they should be paying me? But, yeah, so he would leave. And then everything would come back. Like, all of a sudden, the big bad monster is gone from the forest. And all of a sudden, like, the birds are chirping and the crickets are going back again. Nothing changed. There was no new nothing. And so, flash forward, put a pin in that. Flash forward to back at Sears. And so, Sears was paying absolutely nothing. And I had just gotten back from my grandfather's funeral. And my cousin Donna, shout out to Donna, said, "Hey, why don't you come and work out in New England?" I didn't really think about it. I thought about traveling to different places. Delaware, of all places, was one of the people, or one of the states I had my eyes set on. Denver being another one. And Donna threw Massachusetts on there. And so, why not? So I threw out my resume, and this restaurant gets back to me, Feng Shui in Chelmsford, gets back to me, sight unseen, says, "Hey, we want you. The job is yours if you want it. This is how much we're going to pay you. Come on down." And I said, "Well, I got nothing better to do in Rochester. I have lots of friends here. I have very, very close friends here. And worst case scenario, if all else fails, as long as I got maybe $50 in gas money, I can come back to Rochester. I'll be all right." So I took that plunge. I decided to pack up just about everything. Not everything, but my Wii got packed in there. My Nintendo Wii, some clothes, and I drove to Lowell, Massachusetts. It took me roughly about 6 hours, a little under. I didn't really speed. This is in the middle of January, I believe. January 2010. And I got there. I stayed with my uncle and Donna and my other cousin Dada. And I hung out for a couple days, and then finally I started working. And I went to Feng Shui in Chelmsford, and I would say best way to describe this, and I describe it to everybody the same way, is if food and money got together and had sex. Because this place was, I wouldn't say extravagant, but they put a lot of money into it. The the renovations alone were about $1 million, and it shows. Like, it's very well efficiently run, haunted as all get out, and I'll get to that later. But it's very, very nice, and they paid really well. Only problem was, now there was a hush over the kitchen, and no one wanted to talk to me. I was the new guy. I was being friendly. I was, making my way around, introducing myself. No one would say a single thing to me. They would politely, like, shake my hand, say hello, things like that. And I never knew what was going on. And then I sat down and I realized, shit, I'm the chef from New York now. And so everybody was being quiet around me, watching my every move. And unlike the chef from New York, I did not disappoint. I went straight to work. That my first day was Valentine's Day, and we pulled in a little under 500 people. And I worked from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. nonstop, and I kept up. Like, they were probably expecting me to fail. This new guy, fresh face, younger than all of us, and I kept up with them. I was cheering them on. I was like, "Hey, come on, we got some more tables out there. Let's go. If you need help prepping, I'm gonna help you prep. I got this." And so, Valentine's Day, banged it out. And that very same day, Charlie looked at me and he goes, "I'm gonna give you more money." I'm like, "What?" "I'm gonna give you more money." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." I'm not going to argue with you. And so that's how it was. That was my first day. Let me just say how I wouldn't say rich, but how well off this restaurant is. And for employee meals, the restaurant has to provide meals for the employees, and most of the time it's like rice soup or like a bone broth or something like that. For our employee meals, for our lunch, we had a buffet of like barbecued mussels. We had sushi. We had dim sum. For dinner, like I remember one night, everybody got a whole lobster just because. Like, here's your lobster. Here's your lobster. Like, okay, I can get used to this. And so I did that for about 2 years. And again, the burnout was coming. The money was there, but the hours were just ridiculous. I was working from 10 in the morning, sometimes by myself, prepping for the entire kitchen till like 11 o'clock at night. And if it was Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Mother's Day, any of those big holidays where people go to restaurants, like I might not even come home. And so the creepy demon of smoking and drinking reared its ugly head again. But by then I've already quit smoking, but every now and then I would, just grab one just because. And so I decided couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't do it anymore and I quit. It was probably the hardest thing to do because I was making really really good money. But I decided for my own personal sake to quit. And this is right a little bit after my grandmother had passed. And I had said this to my cousin Suwan that after she passed, I said, Grandma made some of the best food I've ever had, and I will probably ever have. And unfortunately, we'll probably never eat this again. And he agreed with me. And so that's when I decided I need to really, really get into cooking. And so I did. I started learning as much as I can about Lao cooking because I had no interest in it. I really didn't eat Lao food at that much at all, except for when I'm at my parents' house. But my cousins really loved it. My now wife, Mary, really loved it. And she was the one that really pushed me to cooking more traditional Lao food, probably because she didn't want to do it. But again, I loved cooking. And so every Thanksgiving, well, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I would have something called Fat Thanksgiving, in which that was my Super Bowl. Like everyone knows 5 a.m. Sunday morning before Thanksgiving, nobody go in the kitchen. Like even if I wanted water, I'm gonna pre-pour water, leave it on a table, and I want nothing to do with the kitchen because Noah's gonna be in there. He's gonna have some really sharp knives, and he's probably gonna stab me. Like even my wife knows, and my wife would, Mary would combat me at everything, just for spite. But even she knew, like the kitchen that day, no, not that day. And so every year I would have like a brand new theme. I believe the first year was the Middle East. I had made Egyptian gambari. I made a Turkish salad. I roasted a lamb leg, and I made a red and white pasta sauce. The year after that was, I believe, Southeast Asia, in which I made a banh mi bar. And then the year after that was a tour of Western Asia, not Western, Eastern Asia, so Japanese, Korean. I made a Korean pulled pork with kimchi tacos. So just things like that. Like I just challenged myself all the time, and I got to the point where I can just look at something on YouTube, like somebody's cooking something on YouTube. I can hear what they're trying to tell me to do, and I can already gauge it. Like I don't need your measurements. I can just watch what you're doing. I got it. I'm halfway through the video. I got it. I'm in the kitchen. I'm already banging it out, and Obviously, Mary loves it. And so, like, Alex, has a very strict diet. Not for medical reasons, he just likes a certain thing. And so, I have to figure out what he likes, make it for him to a certain way, to a certain degree. He likes really, really salty food. And so, obviously, I have to make him something that's salty, but it's not going to give him a stroke down the lines, things like that. And so, yeah, every day I make three separate meals, one for Alex, one for Mary, one for myself. And so, wow, I'm saying and so a lot. Probably because I'm trying to like catch up with my mind and my mouth at the same time. But yeah, like if you really, really enjoy something, I don't think I want it to be work anymore. I don't want to do it as a job because then it becomes work, then it becomes stressful, then it's no longer fun. Like a lot of my coworkers now that I work at in retail, they say, "Why don't you go back to cooking?" And I would tell them like, once it becomes a job, I don't like it anymore. Like I don't want to do this as a job. Like I enjoy what I'm doing right now, and I don't want to hate it. And so I do, like, I'll make sauces, I make pickles now on the side, and that's fun for me. Like, that's a challenge for me, that's fun for me. I do get paid for it, but again, I'm not working for someone else. I'm working for myself when it comes to that. And so I enjoy it a lot more. And in closing, I guess, like, if you really, really enjoy something, you tend to spend a little bit more money on it because I have a knife that's sitting in my drawer right now that I use maybe once or twice a year, and it's pretty expensive. Thank you, Mary. But yeah, that's my special knife, and I enjoy using it. I don't never use it because she spent a pretty decent amount on it, but it's for special occasions. Maybe when I make chicken French, eventually when I learn. But I want to thank you guys for listening. That's all I got. I want to say, please, if you like what you're hearing, share it with people. Like I said, I've got some new listeners, and just spread the word. But other than that, hey, you guys have a safe holiday. Don't drink too much. Be safe, and I'll see you guys after Thanksgiving. I love you, Alex. Bye.